You're a sixth year sitting your leaving cert in June 2026, and this is a Unit 3 chapter I would highly advise studying, and it is called Plant Structure. Now, we are going to look at a particular question that came up in the 2024 deferred paper, which was to draw a transverse section of a leaf. But let's break it down for a second. We know the basic functional unit of life is known as a cell. A group of similar cells combined together that are modified to carry out one or more functions is known as a tissue. Then a group of tissues combine together to form an organ, and a group of organs combine together to form an organ system. So let's apply that to our plant. So if we think of a group of cells coming together, modified to carry out one or more functions, we form tissues. Now, there are various different tissues that we can have in a plant. We can have the dermal tissue, which is going to protect the plant against water loss and pathogen entry, normally found on the outside of the plant, which we'll have a look at in a minute. Then we have the vascular tissue in a plant is responsible for transporting substances, divided into the xylem, which transports water and minerals, and phloem, which transports food. And then we have the ground tissue. The ground tissue is the site of photosynthesis. It acts as food storage and support for the plant as well. So they'll combine together to make up different organs in the plant. Now, students really struggle to figure out what organs there are in a plant. The leaf, the stem, the root, they are all organs, and they combine together to make up the organ system so that a plant can function efficiently. Now, for the sake of this video, we are going to focus on a transverse section, which means you get your leaf and you cut it like this, and then you open it up and you have a look inside. Okay, so imagine you're getting your leaf and now you're having a look at it from the side, and what you're going to see is there is an upper and lower layer. The upper and lower layer are known as the epidermis. We have the upper epidermis and the lower epidermis. They are the dermal tissue. So imagine this is my leaf. The top and the bottom of the leaf that we physically see, that's the dermal tissue. That is protecting the plant from pathogens entering. It's also protecting the plant from water loss, which we'll talk about in a minute. But if we think of what's happening in the leaf, the anabolic reaction known as photosynthesis, plants make their own food in the leaf. Now, in order to do this, which you'll do in the photosynthesis chapter, plants are going to need carbon dioxide and water to make the sugar glucose. So where are these water and carbon dioxide coming from? Well, the water is coming from the roots of the plant. It's coming from the soil, and that's going to enter in by osmosis. It travels up the root, up the stem, and to the leaf. Now, the carbon dioxide diffuses directly into the leaf. So if we look at the lower epidermis, you will see that there's gaps, and we call those gaps pores. Pores called stomata. So the stomata are found in the lower epidermis. And what they're going to do is allow the carbon dioxide to diffuse directly into the leaf. And then what's going to happen, and the lower epidermis has thousands of these stomata, and then what happens is the gas, carbon dioxide, keeps diffusing up to the next layer. So we have the lower epidermis as our bottom layer, and then the next layer up is our spongy mesophyll tissue. Okay, that spongy mesophyll tissue has lots of air spaces to allow the carbon dioxide gas to keep diffusing up to the next layer, which is called the palisade mesophyll tissue. And this is where the majority of photosynthesis is going to happen. And photosynthesis needs carbon dioxide, which is why the carbon dioxide is diffusing up until this tissue. Now, on top of the palisade mesophyll, we have the upper epidermis. The upper epidermis is almost transparent because it needs to allow the light to pass through it to get to the palisade mesophyll where photosynthesis is happening. Now, since photosynthesis is happening in the palisade mesophyll tissue, which would be the ground tissue, it contains numerous chloroplasts to allow photosynthesis to take place. Okay, so we have our carbon dioxide gas. Our water then is going to be carried in the vascular tissue called the xylem. Now, the xylem lies alongside the phloem. So when the palisade mesophyll cells make the sugar glucose, it's going to be transported via the phloem. So the phloem and the xylem lie alongside one another, okay? One massive problem for a leaf is to try and maintain and contain the water for photosynthesis and not to lose it, because water can be lost from the upper and the lower epidermis. The upper epidermis, the light shines and water will evaporate. So to avoid this, or to limit this, plants will have a waxy cuticle on their upper epidermis, which is lipid based, which prevents water being lost. And underneath, those stomata are going to open and close by two cells at either side called the guard cells. Now the guard cells are sensitive to light, meaning that they will close in the night time and open during the day. And that's to limit transpiration, which is called water loss. That's what transpiration is. Now, one pore is known as a stoma. Many pores are called stomata. The guard cells are thicker on the sides that face each other, and when those guard cells absorb water, what happens is they expand into a curved shape and the pore called the stoma will open. And when they lose water by osmosis, what happens is the guard cells return together and the stoma close, or the stomata plural will close. So we have our stomata closing at night. We have our stomata on the underside of the leaf because it's more shaded and cooler, all preventing water being lost. Okay, so that is your transverse section of a leaf. You have your dermal tissue, your upper and lower epidermis. Your upper epidermis contains the waxy cuticle, transparent to leave light pass through to the palisade mesophyll, which is the ground tissue, which is the site of photosynthesis, adapted by having numerous chloroplasts. Then we come down and we have our xylem and our phloem, which will transport food that was made in the leaf to the rest of the plant, and the xylem has transported water from the roots up through the stem and to the leaf where it's going to be used for photosynthesis. Then we have our spongy mesophyll, which has a lot of air gaps to allow carbon dioxide diffuse in, and carbon dioxide is diffusing in through the pores in the lower epidermis known as the stomata. Remember, the guard cells open and close the stomata. They are thicker on the sides that face each other. When the guard cells absorb water and become turgid, the stoma opens, and when they become flaccid and lose water, the stomata will close. So if you are struggling with plant structure, this is what you need to know on the leaf. So save this if you were doing your Leaving Cert in June 2026.